Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Creating Your Not Too Big Home, Part 2. I'm very excited to have you guys with us tonight. We have a lot of information to impart to you, and I want to say thank you. We've got participants who have joined us from as far away as Washington, Massachusetts, Arizona, Ohio, Oregon, Georgia, and North Carolina, literally from across the country. So I'm really excited to have you guys with us. I also want to acknowledge and thank our team, Gary Cade, our green building consultant, Kimberly Hayner, who's our communications director, Austin Harrell, who's an intern working with us from Lawrence Technological University, Chloe Ferrari, who's also an intern, and then Delaney Davis, who's driving the ship from the mothership. So thanks for all the efforts you guys are putting together. All right, let's get rolling here. So we are in the 2020 Insight series, and this is the third of a 4-event series that we are dubbing the Bowtie Chat, in case you were wondering where we got that name. This is the third in the 4-part series. We've completed already Creating Your Green Home. We've completed Creating Your Beautiful Home. All of these, by the way, are available for viewing in their entirety on our Architectural Resource YouTube channel. So feel free to attend that. And we are now completing part 2 of event 3. Next month, we have a little break. And instead of doing the 2020 Insight Series event, we're going to be having what we call the Parade of Homes. And for the first time ever, it's going to be virtual. And this has been something that's been done live for years and years and years. This is through the Builders and Remodelers Association of Greater Ann Arbor. And this is going to be held on October 16th, 17th, and 18th. How this is going to go is I'm going to be leading virtual live tours every hour and a half on those 3 days. And this is for a home that's the first home that we've created that actually has battery backup power. It's net zero energy, and it has battery backup power. So if the sun wasn't to shine for 3 complete days, they could still be running fine on the battery backup. You'd want to go to ArcResTour, ArcResTour.com, and you can find out more information about how to participate in that event. Here's what we're going to be doing tonight. First 20 minutes, sharing of insights. Second 20 minutes, breakout rooms for open forum discussion. All attendees will be muted until the breakout rooms come on. And we're going to also invite, if you care to keep your video off during the presentation until you're in the breakout room. When you come into the breakout room, I'll remind you, I'll say it again now, you have to turn on your microphone and turn on your video. All right, so let's get started here. We begin with the rule of 3. Why would one want to build a not too big home? What do you need to know to build a not too big home? And finally, how? We covered why and what in the last session. So in this session, we're going to be moving through the balance of the how to build not too big. And just as a reminder, what a not too big home looks like, it's something where you don't have to give up anything except for excess square footage. It's a home that's no bigger than it needs to be in a space that you use a home that you use every space, every day. There are 10 key design concepts at Architectural Resource. Rethinking room, doing double duty, and shelter around activity we covered last time. You can view that on our YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at implied enclosure, diagonal views, movement towards light, the third dimension, indoor-outdoor connection, expanding with light, and the concept of away space. So let's get started. Implied enclosure. What does that mean? Well, we talked last time about redefining space and freeing us from our concept of thinking about having to have rooms defined. So what we're trying to do is generate elements that can imply an enclosure when a wall, as I say, is not a wall. We're going to be using this project as an example. This project is a 2,000 square foot cottage we did for a couple on Gull Lake in Kalamazoo, and this was a candidate for inclusion in Sarah Suzenka's 10-year anniversary Not So Big House book. Here's the floor plan. One of the things I want you to glance at is this region right here. This is the center part of the house, and what we've been able to do is use an implied enclosure to both define a space and in fact define 3 spaces, dining, kitchen, and entry area, but at the same time, allowing these to interact and stay open. So that back area, the back of the banquette seating, pardon me, has a colonnade. That colonnade helps to imply an enclosure. It's when a wall is not a wall. So if those colonnades weren't there, that space would have a completely different feeling to it. Here's a view from the other side, and you can see how they are helping to imply an enclosure when there's frankly no enclosure whatsoever. So you have this ability to psychologically participate in the larger space. Diagonal views. This is one of my all-time favorites. This goes right back to high school. The hypotenuse, the diagonal, is the longest dimension in any given triangle. So we can use the diagonal or the hypotenuse to really make a space seem larger. We're going to use this home, which was featured in Fine Home Building, as an example of this. That what you're seeing there, the young child is poking her head out from the addition that we added to the home. Here's the floor plan. The dark rectangle to the top is the new addition. The white walls to the bottom is the existing house. One of the things I want you to notice is there are certain areas in our home that we're going to spend a fair bit of time. One of them is at the kitchen sink. And what we did in this design is we used that aspect of a diagonal view from the kitchen sink to one of the furthest corners of the addition to help stretch and expand psychologically the scale of that space. We did the same thing from their daily entry. This is another spot you're going to be spending a lot of time in. So as you come into that door, we've created a diagonal view that reaches over the sit-to counter, past the kitchen, through the entry space, through and piercing two framing architectural elements. One is a flue, the other is a architectural element to give definition to the space, and landing on a view out the window. So here's the view as they come in, and this is going to show you their diagonal view that's expanding the physical feel, the psychological feeling of the physical space. Movement towards light, long axis views. I like to say we're like moths. We're all drawn to light. And if we can use movement towards light as an opportunity in our design, we can expand and lengthen the space. So one of the things we're doing with this design is we're using movement towards light, long axis views, actually in two areas of this house. This is the formal entry, but then we also have their daily private entry. This is the view before from their front formal entry. This is what you saw when you walked into the house. And this is the view that you had after we finished the remodel. And as you can see, it's a long axis view, and it carries all the way out to that outside window. Now, some of you on the call might say, yeah, Michael, but how about feng shui? So yes, so there's the concept of chi energy moving through a house. I'm talking about how we can make the space feel larger. If we have to put a bagua mirror on the wall, whatever, to defeat the chi energy movement, we can do that. We have ways of managing that. So here's another view looking back towards the kitchen, showing the long axis view from the main entry, and then a long axis view from the daily entry as well. Using the third dimension. This becomes important because we oftentimes, when we're looking at plans, we're looking down and we're thinking about the plan arrangement. But I often find it's easier and more effective to help define spaces by using the third dimension, floor plane, ceiling plane. So here's a good example of this. This is the home that we shared with you in our last presentation. This was Michigan's first LEED for Homes remodel back in 2008. And this is a view when you walk into the space from the formal front door entry. You'll notice that to your side there, there's this cascading stairway, which is a pretty cool stairway designed out of reclaimed lumber. But that is a third dimension element that we're using, which has a porosity to it. So this is a view from the other side as you walked around the stair. And you'll notice that there's openings in that stair that allow light and view to come through it. What we've done with that stair is we've used that to define and help to shape what would be their dining space. So you can imagine if you were to walk into this home and that element wasn't there, you'd be basically walking directly into the dining area. By using this third dimension element of the cascading stairs coming down from above, we're able to make a difference in that space and really give it a different definition. The next concept is something we call indoor-outdoor connection. And this is really important particularly in states such as Michigan, where we are, particularly now, spending a lot of time indoors. But the idea of psychologically expanding the space from the interior space that you heat and cool to the exterior non-conditioned space through this visual connection. This can help make the space seem larger than it would be otherwise. And we're going to go to this project that was featured in Sarah Suzenka's Not So Big Remodeling. This is a project in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is a Sears Craftsman inspired bungalow, and we really did a significant renovation to it. Here's the plan of the renovation that we did. And what you'll notice is that at the front of the home, we have an expanse of windows and doors that really open up a connection between the inside space and the outside space. Having an outside space that has an implied enclosure, if you notice we're using that same implied enclosure detail with the double columns, and also that has a ceiling, can help you psychologically have the impact of having those two spaces actually work as one and feel like it's one continuous extended space. And so this indoor-outdoor connection can help to make an inside space seem larger. Expanding with light. This is a very simple technique that you can use anytime you have an opportunity to use light. Elements that are light in the architectural space recede. Elements that are dark advance. So if we can use light, both natural and artificial, we can help to push those walls out and visually expand a space. We're going to be doing that with this project, and this project was featured in Sarah Suzenka's Not So Big Remodeling. This is a home also in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So here's the existing floor plan. This is a ranch, and if you'll notice, the area to the left is their main living room space. The goal was to try to open that space up and bring light into it. The issue we had is the outside of the house had a deep overhang that reached out to those dashed lines, and it had a huge oak tree in the front yard. So there was an awful lot of shading going on. There wasn't very much light to be had from that west face of the home. So what we did is we said, okay, great. If we want to bring light into the house, let's bring light into the house in the center of the house. How can we open up the space to bring light in? And so here's what we did. Here is a cross section cut through the house, up and down on the plan that you just viewed. And you'll notice that the roof had a uneven pitch. We had the steeper pitch for the roof and a shallower pitch for the ceiling underneath. What actually had happened that we discovered through doing our on-site diagnostic visits is they had taken additional material and built a higher roof up above the lower roof. So as we did this research and we understood what existing conditions were in place, we realized there was an opportunity there to turn that into an asset. So what we did is we peeled back the roof. We left the existing framing exposed, so we didn't have to change any of the structure whatsoever. And then we generated this monitor that reached towards the west to scoop in and deposit light into the space. So here is the main living area, view before. And here's that same room after. I'm going to go back. There's the before, and there's the after. And what you notice is we've opened up a huge area in the ceiling, but we didn't have to do any change to any of the framing. Those rafters and ceiling joists are the same joists that were there before. We simply exposed them. And by peeling back the drywall, we were able to generate this large open space and have light literally come spilling in and filtering down into the main living space. Lastly, once we do all this great work to create this open floor area, we have to be mindful of the fact that you're going to need a place to kind of get away and recenter with yourself. So what we call an away space is basically a personal retreat inside the overall design of the open space. So here's a home that we did, which we added an addition. There was a new living room space, a new mudroom entry, and a new master suite above. And this was a large open area. And if you notice over there in the corner, there is a little away space that's tucked over there. Here's a view looking into it. I mean, besides being a charming space, who wouldn't want to spend time there? That gives you a little bit of a repose in case you've had enough of the open floor plan concept. So these are the 3 steps for creating your not too big home. In our office, we break it down into something very, very simple. Step 1, exploring your possibilities, right? So we come to our clients, we have a conversation with them, we understand their whys, we put form to it. We then move into the second step. From all the different myriad of design ideas, we then unify a cohesive design solution, and we establish what the direction is. The third step is to map out the strategic plan of action, putting together the construction documents, bringing the team together, and doing all the important planning that's necessary to make sure that we first build your house on paper, and then it's built on the site. And I'd like to introduce a colleague of mine, Gary Cade, who is our green building consultant, and he's going to share a few thoughts with you on this concept of BNO. Gary, take it away.
Thank you, Michael. Exciting times in home building. And this is Gary Cade here. I've been building close to 40 years. And something I've noticed about us builders is we're very slow to innovate, very slow to try to change things. Our comfort zone is doing things the way we've always done them, which in turn, what I've noticed that we consistently are building what I call BNOs. And a BNO is a brand new and obsolete home. I mean, it's a little crazy, but when you think about it, you know, the future is net zero homes. In fact, California is mandating it by 2025. And if you're not building a net zero home, what you're building is a BNO. And 5–10 years from now, no one will want your home. So Michael's got a better plan. Actually, designing homes of the future today, and it takes planning, as Michael's going to point out.
Yeah, that's the planning part is huge. A client of ours once shared with us something called the planning pyramid. And I said, I love that. Can I borrow that? Because it makes a ton of sense. And what he shared with us is that 1 hour of planning can save 10 hours of adjusting during and 100 hours of correcting after.
Wow. And literally you can add dollar signs when you don't plan properly, add dollar signs in front of all those hours. And that becomes a big missing when you're not planning. And the other thing I just want to say too, it doesn't happen just by thinking about it. You actually have to take action. You have to start planning. And one of the really unique things about what Michael has offered is that there's a free consultation for those of you who are actually thinking about doing something. And again, it doesn't happen by thinking about it, it's actually taking action. And the key is it's never too early to start. It's a long process to get it perfectly right, you know, such that the building process goes very smoothly, stays on budget, stays on track. So at the end of our event tonight, if you're so inclined to actually get off the bench, so to speak, and start planning, there's an opportunity at the end to set up a free consultation with Michael. And all of us who are on his team, has his calendar, can help you do that.
You know, Gary, you're reminding me of something that I learned, I think maybe even from you, and that is the distance between your dreams and reality is called action. The planning process is a way for us to begin that action. That's the first step towards the possibilities that exist. And as Gary had mentioned, we are right now in the middle of a revolution, a literally a revolution. And new homes are moving into a new era where they are going to be generating all the power that they need. And for some of you on this call, that might seem like, what are you talking about? Well, yes, Virginia, it is possible. And we've done that actually with several homes, even here in Michigan, with 52 days of sunshine a year. Yes, we can still do this. This is our passion. This is why I was put on this planet, is to help people create these type of homes and really create inspired spaces that lead to inspired lives. That's what we're all about. And I'd be thrilled to spend time with you at no cost to you, to share with you some insights that I might have for something that you might personally be thinking about for yourself. And so we thank you so much for attending. We're now going to move you all through the magic of our intern managing the program into breakout rooms where we're going to be having an open forum discussion about anything that might be on your mind. And if you're interested in setting up an appointment, we can help you with that too. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the breakout rooms in 4 seconds.